Namaste, konnichiwa, hello. Welcome to the Nupur Tewari show, episode number 9, with your love and support, presented by Healindya and Healindya. And today's guest, he says, he's an Indian who was born in Pakistan. He's an award-winning author for his 2 books. He's none other than Mr. Tarek Fatah, and he's joining us all the way from Canada. With big applause, let's welcome Mr. Tarek Fatah. Namaskar.
Namaste.
Welcome to Japan, virtually though.
Okay, yeah, why not? I haven't been there.
But yeah, we'd love to have you next time after Corona season. We'll be waiting for you here. So you have many friends here, like followers, I would say. They're your
In
friends
Japan?
also. Yes, they love you. They're your fan. They're your followers, and they're just
Oh my
looking
God.
forward to seeing you. And this is kind of first time it is happening. We're just trying to bring more India in Japan, introducing all
Okay.
the Indians here in Japan, especially among Indians and Japanese also, so they can come
Okay.
to know more India. So
They should.
once,
They
yes,
should
please.
know more about India because it's a very deeply connected society. Their entire structure is based on what is India today. There might
Indian
be a
philosophy.
well, historically, the Buddhism, the flight of the monks from Nalanda in medieval times, when Nalanda was destroyed, all the monks either went to Tibet or China and Japan. So even today, Japan has a place for some of the most treasured statues, including the fasting Buddha, which they've
Yes,
taken from the Lahore Museum, and they've built a special place for him over there. So,
that's wonderful. That's a deep connection, I guess, between two
oh,
cultures.
absolutely. They don't eat biryani. That's a different thing.
No, they
But
started eating biryani. Were born in Pakistan, an Indian was born in Pakistan. So, was Pakistan really necessary? We needed Pakistan.
no, Britain needed Pakistan. No,
Okay.
and some of the Muslims in northern India, which is UP, Bihar, and it's called Central Provinces at that time. Now it's Madhya Pradesh or Bhopal, Hyderabad. These were people who, the Urdu speaking Muslim
Okay.
community of India, I'm not talking of Tamil Muslims or Malayalis or Punjabis or Pashtuns. Primarily, this group had this notion that the British took India from us, we are the Mughals, and we shall return and take over again. And this is the dream of every Northern Indian Muslim or Pakistani Muslim as well. And so at the time of partition, the British wanted bases, military bases in northern India. In just after the Second World War finished, Berlin fell on May, May 5th, and within a week, 10 days, Churchill was already talking about what to do with India. And their fear was that the Soviet Union uh, had a huge military presence, just like Japan surrendered because primarily the Russian army had entered Manchuria and the Kuril Islands. Everybody is made to believe that because of the bomb. No, the real scare was that the Soviet army was huge. It had suffered 30 million dead, and it was something to be taken seriously. So the British then, when the Congress said, no, we will not allow you to have bases, That's when they reached to Mr. Jinnah and tried, and then gave him the contract to basically amputate the limbs of India. So there was a buffer state between the Soviet Union and Afghanistan, which was pro-Soviet, and India, which had a very large left-wing presence by the Communist Party and the Congress. This was a creation by a weird alliance of Urdu supremacists, people who think that Urdu is a language that's come from heaven, for Muslims. And they imposed it on Bengal, they imposed it in Pakistan, and the rest is history. So
Yeah.
created.
History. So in that Pakistan, you were raised. So how was
I
your
was born
childhood?
there. I was born in 49.
Yes.
So my parents, who are of Punjabi descent, they were business people in Mumbai.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather had a business in the Indian Railways. And so
Okay.
they primarily came to Karachi to set up the industry because the railways got divided and the
Mm-hmm.
flooring in all these railway bogies was done by a company in Bombay called the Oxychloride Flooring Company. It is still
Mm-hmm.
there. So, and didn't work out. And uh, uh, we went from, um, in my early childhood, from fairly opulent, wealthy family to an absolute disastrous poverty that we lived in. For some time, I remember lived in a corrugated shed for horses. I've seen it all. But
You have experienced everything.
oh, I was not even 1 year old when a car, my family car, drove over me and broke my legs. So I even carry the injury today on my heels. So for 70 years, I've lived in like a daily pain on my heel. So
Mm-hmm.
I was not even one, but when I was two, I got drowned in a family swimming pool. So I I had a very good early start in, you know,
Yeah. So you have seen, like, you had since very,
oh,
like, 1 year
extreme.
old, you started struggling, I guess,
I
in
wouldn't
this
know,
planet.
but I do remember uh, living in pain almost all of my childhood. Now I've got used to it, but you know, I was 1 year in a plaster, and and then we suddenly, my family became absolutely penniless, and sometimes having no food. Sometimes it was terrible. This many people who came from India prospered uh, because they were Urdu speaking, and there was a mafia that controlled Pakistan even today. That
Mm-hmm.
if I think I've noticed that even in India, that if you speak Urdu, everybody thinks you're a very smart, intellectual person. There's something about that language where you can fool other people by just, doing some sher shairi. Kya baat
Like
hai?
something, some elite class kind of it has.
It positions you if you stand in the middle of a street and you are illiterate, but you can talk fluent Urdu, people will think you're a very learned person. So it is a language in which you can fool other people very easily. And even though I would suppose my first or my second language is Urdu, I have a big distaste for people who employ it to make an argument because it puts the other person sort of on the cultural defensive. Most Indians, for example, think that someone speaking Urdu is very educated.
True, true. Someone is saying, something in Urdu means wow, that's a
Wow,
wonderful.
absolute nonsense, and they usually say utter nonsense.
Totally,
It- the
totally. I
most
know.
You can lie in Urdu. That's the biggest asset of Urdu is you can lie in it. Nobody catches you. Like in Punjabi you can never hide what you're saying.
Yes,
It is there for everyone. In Urdu,
totally.
in Urdu, you never know what the guy.
Exactly.
What part of India do you come
So
from?
yes, so that I was going to tell you. Like I'm from Bengal, so I speak Bengali. So
Okay.
now the
Demonage.
Bangladesh.
Hello. I know that.
So the Bangladesh. Now the problem is the Bangladeshi. They are saying they're speaking Bengali, and in Bengali they have so many Urdu words. I just I request them just make it real Bengal. Like so many Urdu words these days Bangladeshis are speaking, and
Okay, this I'll tell you why it has happened. First of all, for 25 years,
mhm.
uh, the West Pakistan Urdu, the Biharis dominated Bengal. That is what Sheikh Mujib revolution was. The International Mother Tongue Day is commemorates January 8, 1951, when people came out in Dhaka to reject Urdu as their mother tongue,
True.
and they were forced to speak it. But then, uh, because of the presence of uh, the Muslim presence nearby of UP and Bihar, Urdu has crept in. For example, in Calcutta, you'd be
Mhm.
surprised that the number of people who speak Bangla are not actually Bengali.
Hmm.
They are settlers from UP who are Bangla speaking. So
Exactly.
Maulana Barkati and all these people, you go to Calcutta, you don't get a Bengali sense. I've been there, and I think there is still a reluctance to accept it as a Bengali city because it wants to portray itself as the British first. This is where the British rule.
Intellectual.
Yeah, the Calcutta English College and that, and the Queen and the Lord and Lord, absolute nonsense. But mind you, even the 1946 August 16, August 14 killings in Calcutta, there is no commemorative statue for the dead because everybody's scared that a Muslim would get upset.
Mhm.
So even though uh, that direct action day that Mr. Jinnah said, go kill all the people on the streets of Calcutta, it was so insidious because those people on the
Yes.
streets were Biharis.
Yes.
And because the dead bodies went to Bihar, then there were anti-Muslim riots in Patna. And that is what Jinnah and the British wanted it to happen. Very
And then
insidious.
Pakistan came from there.
That's how. So
That's
I
the
ended
thing.
up with no choice but to be born in Karachi, which was an incredibly beautiful city. It
Oh.
was just, you cannot imagine a city in all of India that was it. You people spoke over there. I've heard from Portuguese to Malayali to Marwari to Gujarati, Memoni, Konkani, uh, Balochi, Sindhi. The only language you couldn't hear in Karachi was Urdu. And they came and they made the language of the country Urdu. Now you imagine how could a city as metropolitan, because all airlines from London to Australia, Britain to Australia, would stop over in Karachi because it was a very cosmopolitan place. It had a very large Zoroastrian population, Goan Catholics, the part of the
Multicultural. Totally multilinguistic.
absolutely, and till about 5, 6, maybe even when I was 10, or till I left school,
Mm-hmm.
the kids in my class who graduated, out of 40 or 50, 40, there were about 10 who were Catholic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can imagine
Yeah.
that the Goans simply left. It
And
was
how about
like.
Karachi today.
Oh, Karachi today is hell. It is the epitome of everything that is wrong about the Urdu language, because truth cannot be spoken.
Mhm.
The people who came from India, they genuinely think that the country Pakistan is their Lucknow, so they have to. Imagine you go as an Indian to France and make Hindi as the national language of France. Or
That's
can
so
you?
unfair.
Yeah, well, you go to Tokyo and say, well, Hindi is the language, or forget about Hindi, Tamil is the language of Japan.
Mhm.
But they did that in Pakistan. So there is Pakistan. It's an artificial entity. It's a state of mind. It's not a state like a political country. It's a
Mhm.
fake. It is like the last remnants of the Mughal. Like when an army retreats, वो पीछे जो लोग रह जाते हैं ना कचरा वचरा उठाने के लिए, पाकिस्तान वो है। मुगल्स की जो कचरा है वो उठाने के लिए बनाया गया कि that they dream about. Everyone thinks they are Turks. You will never find, for example, even in India or Pakistan, any Muslim who has an Indian name. This is just unimaginable. Can you imagine in Japan? No, I can't have a Japanese name. Why are you in India? Why are you in Japan?
True. That's sad. Actually, I find it really sad because we all are Indians. Like, India is not a. It's not the only country. It's a culture. So you definitely you could not accept because Mr. Tarek Fateh was more Tarek Fateh at that time. So you did not accept. How much difficulties did you have to go through at that time?
This is interesting because we're speaking on a date, which is the anniversary start of the 1965 war. So September 6th, when the war started, I had just entered college from school. And this was my first exposure to a large variety of ordinary people, students who didn't come in uniform, who were politically active on the left or the right. We had Jamaat Islami and even the Communist Party and all that. So it gave, when the 1964 why war took place, that was my turning point because, uh, first of all, we were lied to that angels were coming and destroying Indian planes in the middle of the air. And at that time, of course, you don't remember, you were not there. There was a meteor in the sky, a star that was floating by, and we would say, we were told it was the sword of Ali that was going to kill Hindus. This was happening during the war, a war that Pakistan lost, and every Pakistani believes that they won. This is quite interesting. So, no matter what evidence you use to the Pakistanis, they they just don't accept it. But also on the Indian side, you get exposed to the stupidity of how Babugiri works. How people who run files, how they can destroy a country, and I think they're still destroying India to some degree. Because when Prime Minister Shastri ordered that the attack on Lahore, the Indian Navy pulled its ships back into their base कि ये वॉर के अंदर तो ऐसे ही पेंट वेंट खराब हो जाएगा तो इसको अभी रखो because Indian ships. I'm not. This is Indian sources. I'm telling you, the aircraft, the air force was not coordinated, and on September 6th, number of Indian Hunter aircraft were destroyed on the ground by the Pakistan Air Force. Even then, Pakistanis ran out of ammunition. It was a bad time. Indians had entered a number of crucial areas, but nobody talks about the 1965 war.
Yeah, and this is September.
Yeah, today
Right.
we're
Yes.
talking at the anniversary of
Yes.
that. I
Yes.
lived through that, And I think that is where I understood the whole farce of religious nationalism. And I wouldn't say that uh, I understood what is India then, because India for us at that time was 15 or 15, yeah. So India was the enemy, and Hindu was something you hate. But I think within a year or two, I realized that this was complete nonsense, you know. And by within by 1968, I was arrested. I went to prison because we had a dictator, Ayub Khan, Field Marshal Ayub Khan. He fought. His fame was that he fought against Netaji's forces in Burma. So, but whatever, we didn't even know who was Netaji at that time. But when you're that young and you go to prison, uh, it is a great place to sit with people who are also political prisoners and you have nothing to do. So you meet and you talk and you get enlightened. Of course, it's not as pleasurable as I mean to sound, but I relished that time. Then again in 1970, I got arrested and I was sent to Balochistan, a prison on top of a hill called Much, which the British had built in 1924 or 29, and spent a year over there, which was quite tough. Well, I was just 20. So uh, I I'm lucky that I got exposed to people and politics in the worst situation. There was no.
So from because before that you did not, I think you did not learn about in history, Indian history or anything at school.
I did. I've been reading and reading about the Second World War since I was 13 years old. So
Because
I
your
knew.
own interest, that was your own interest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was. I used to go to the British Council on a bicycle
But
and spend quite some time there. I read Mr. Churchill's six-volume um, history of the Second World War, and uh, and that is why I at times disagree with many of my Indian friends about the legacy of Netaji. He actually went to meet Hitler, and he recruited the Indian National Army in Europe
yes.
from the soldiers in the North Africa British Army, in British Indian Army, and he abandoned them. Nobody talks about that. The Indian National Army recruited in Europe was abandoned, and Netaji went alone in a submarine to Madagascar, where he transferred to a Japanese submarine. And the Japanese actually were, did quite horrific crimes in Indonesia, where a lot of our Indian soldiers were sent to salt mines and never came out. Never came out. So, despite the fact Japan shares a lot of the history with us, I am not convinced that the Japanese who had killed almost 1 million people in Nanking during the Second World, 14 million Chinese were killed in the
Yes,
Second World
but and from after that, Japan changed and they had decided they are not
War.
going to do.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying Netaji knew what was happening. The greatness of Netaji is that the INA had women in the as officers, had
Exactly.
Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs. He was oblivious of religion. He was a smart guy, slightly egocentric, but it couldn't achieve anything except become gun fodder for the Japanese. The Japanese would withdraw and let the Indian soldiers die. And many of them came back on foot after the Second World War. They were just abandoned.
It
You
was
will
totally
go
an
to the village.
unfortunate.
You see, the mistake of Congress was that you were running Quit India movement at a time when they locked you up. And so they allowed the Muslim League to organize while the Congress was in jail. And Netaji was in some jungles of Malaya and Burma. What do you expect to happen? You see, There have been many mistakes, and that's understandable.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
then India abandoned the frontier Gandhi. They abandoned every Muslim Congress member that lived in Sindh and Punjab and frontier in Balochistan. Why? Because these Muslims didn't speak Urdu. And the Congress, in their mind, till today, if you don't speak Urdu, you're not an authentic Muslim. Even check within BJP or the Congress or Communist Party, if you don't speak, if you're Tamil, do you know any Tamil speaking Muslim activist? Even our president was a scientist, Abdul
Yes.
Kalam. But
Yes.
politically, you will not find Muslim leadership from the South. You have to be Sayyid Zaidi and with pan eating and shairi and Urdu. That's what makes you a Muslim in India. And that's the tragedy that we face. If you're a Pathan, then you're considered Kabuliwala. You know, you're selling nuts and it's
That's
terrible.
true. That's true. Kabuliwala, yes.
So
There is
we
a wonderful
designated
story.
everyone.
Mhm.
Like the Muslims say, Are Hindu baniya. And that's the only thing they know about Hindus. They know nothing else.
So this love for India, the love for India, knowing that enlightenment that this is your culture, when actually you realize?
When I realized I am in India, the Indus flows not in India. What is a stupid thing? The Indus flows in Pakistan.
Mhm.
Punjab is in
True.
Pakistan. What are we
Exactly.
talking about? How is that India? This is India. Monjudaro is India.
Yes.
Hadappa is India. Takshila is India. And you're saying, no, India is somewhere over there near Orissa. Are bhaiya. Please.
Akhand Bharat.
No, Akhand Bharat is also a political slogan. You don't need to Akhand Bharat. Bharat is Bharat. Akhand Bharat kya?
It's the
Bharat was
United
made
India.
by, Bharat was created by 50 million years of the meeting of continents, crushing into each other, with the Himalayas rising and creating an entity, a place where no ice age ever came to India. आप
Yes.
समझते हैं? We
Huh.
have lived in the protection of the Himalayas from the Chittagong hill tracts up to the hills of Balochistan. It's like,
Mhm.
it's like arms like this that protect you. We are
Mhm.
protected. We never invaded anyone.
True. Exactly. We
Everybody
never
wanted to come
invaded.
here. And when they
Yes.
would come, they would stay for the nihari or the
Yeah.
biryani or the chutney. They would not go back. Except the
Yes.
Central Asians
Mhm.
were losers in their countries and then came to rape and plunder Hindustan. So if somebody in Lahore is celebrating, what do they call the missile? The only Afghan who burnt Lahore is celebrated in Lahore. It's a very sick attitude. It needs few centuries for this toxic contamination of the Muslim mind to go down. But then it
Exactly.
also means the Hindu mind has to be detoxified as well. They genuinely think that India is somewhere near Ganga Jamuna. Arey bhai, Kurukshetra is in Punjab.
Yeah, so we cannot say, yes, our Pakistani cannot say, hey, this is India, this is Hindustan. Definitely, they'll say, no, 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 this is Pakistan. India doesn't exist here.
Pakistan is not a country. It's not a state. It's a state of mind. And I keep saying there are more Pakistanis in India than in Pakistan because the Baloch want freedom. They don't want Pakistan. The Sindhis don't want Pakistan. The Pashtuns are part of Afghanistan. Peshawar was the winter capital of Afghania. And we end up with some bizarro state called
True.
Pakistan. And the
Exactly.
majority of those people were in Bengal. I mean, this is so idiotic that for Congress to accept it was primarily their view that in the hinterlands, these people who live, are not really human beings. They develop. I think it's a Pathan. And a Punjabi does Bangla all the time. Real people live in the Hindi belt or in Maharashtra or Shivaji ke area mein or Bangalore or deep thinking people from like Ovesi. You know, they
I
genuinely
remember. Yeah.
they do not think someone from Balochistan, which was an independent country, deserves Indian support.
Today, like you said, it's very sad that today the Muslims they don't take the Hindu name. Hindu, I wouldn't say Hindu. It is the
No, no,
Indian name.
Indian.
Indian
Because
name. So
Bharati naam.
भारतीय नाम. तो
Look,
आप कौन
arguing.
सा नाम पसंद करेंगे आपके लिए?
No, no, मेरा तो है ही तारक. It's Sanskrit.
Tarak. Oh, that is its favorite. It has no.
Yeah.
The Tarak is Tarak. Or okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I
What
was
is star? Star कहाँ से? सितारा. तारा.
Yeah,
They all
Tarak.
correct.
Yes,
हाँ.
even I have a cousin whose name is Tarak too. So I was confused. I thought maybe some Urdu thing.
No,
is
no,
there.
no, 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 no. Yeah, this is again the Indian problem. The Aryan influence came from India and went to the world. And we started thinking Aryans came from somewhere and settled here. What can you do? You know, the problem is that you have to draw a line between two thoughts. One is nationalism and the other is chauvinism. Chauvinism is based on that guy Chauvin who has a racist view of their own nationality as being superior. I'm French. I eat Germans. Like that. But nationalism is something that says I'm Indian. I invented chess.
True. Exactly.
I gave you zero. I'm not asking for anything in return. I gave you the alphabet. Every Quran's numbered. Every Quran on earth has a Hindu numeral. You tell that to your Muslim friend, they'll start scratching their heads. तुम्हारा अरबी में नंबर ही नहीं होता था कोई. You from a land
So all
where
the Indian numerals.
no paper, no ink, no book, no water, no rain, no bakri, no guy, no chidiya, no barish, no flooding, no earthquake, nothing. And then you're teaching us, okay, we brought civilization to India. Stop it. You came here because you had no other place to go, and the Arabs were killing the family of Prophet Muhammad. So they took refuge in India. Everybody takes refuge in India.
Yeah, everybody takes refuge in India. That's so true.
There in South, if you go to Cochin, you'll see the synagogues over there.
That's true.
British ने डच को मारा, डच भी आ गए इधर. फ्रेंच भी आ गए. जिसको बोलो वो इधर आ जाता है. So it is a reservoir for the world. But
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Yes, but don't come and bully us then, or lecture us. I will teach you how to. No.
We gave them chance, like as you said before, that too much with slavery we are used to with slavery. That
no, what has happened at the Indian consciousness of time is different. Whether you're Muslim or Christian, you think in straight lines that this is 2,000-3,000 years, and that's time. Hindu essence is that this is like Kali Yuga. This is a cycle is 14 billion years.
Yes.
So you say आज नहीं तो अगले जन्म में हो जाएगा. तो मुस्लिम guys saying नहीं अभी करना है भैया.
जो भी करना है अभी करना है.
अभी करना है, माल चाहिए जल्दी. हिंदू जो कहता है अच्छा ठीक है अपने कर्म में
अगले जन्म में कर लेंगे.
हाँ, so it's very conflicting, and they can combine to be very powerful because but this nationalism and this hatred of Hindus and then deny no हम लोग हिंदू को नहीं हेट करते. तारिक भाई आप हमारे बीच में फसाद करा रहे. अरे भैया क्यों झूठ बोलते हो? Every Friday you pray to God के या अल्लाह हमको मुसलमान को फतह नसीब करे Qawmul Kafirin pe. Every Friday, every mosque in India is praying for your Hindus' disaster. and then these guys don't know. इंडिया को पता ही नहीं है वो अल्फाबेट उसका कुछ और है उसका कुछ और है.
तो मतलब आपको इतना सब कहाँ से पता चल गया?
पढ़ते रहते. I was published when I was 13 years old.
Wait. So when we are talking about religion, how bad it can be, and this is the September, and it is 9/11. So 9/11 is the disaster to this universe, I would say.
Yes, but people have forgotten. People have forgotten.
Yes. So
Nobody, you can't. Today, you can't criticize the terrorists who attacked America. You can't criticize them in America. Campaign. Senator Sanders' campaign manager, Pakistani. Campaign chair, Khalistani. This guy, Sleepy Joe, he comes first thing he says, we need to have more education on Islam. It takes 2-3 people to invoke white guilt. You know, कि जापान में क्यों नहीं होती टेररिज्म? आपने सोचा है कभी?
Japanese religion, they are not that. They are more about karma. You
No,
know?
no, no, karma. Why aren't there any terrorist incidents? फिलीपीन में है ना, चाइना में है ना, जापान में क्यों नहीं है? उन्होंने आने ही नहीं दी.
भगवान करे कभी ना हो.
ना
किसी के देश में भी ना हो,
कहीं पे भी ना हो, लेकिन जापानियों ने पहले समझ गए कि ये गड़बड़ कहाँ से आ रही है. वो चुप करके काम करते. वो ये नहीं कि जुलाई 4th की परेड कर रहे और उसमें अनाउंस कर रहे. 9/11 people in America have forgotten. Is दफा they were not going to honor it with 2 lights because वो COVID-19 में बिजली खर्च हो जाएगी. कराए का मुल्क. Like between Trump and Sleepy Joe, आप क्या करेंगे?
So the new election is coming in US. So what is your idea about, like, what is your take?
On both sides, Islamists are present and thoroughly on both sides. आपने क्या समझा हमको? हमने चाइना, इंडिया से लेके स्पेन तक को बेवकूफ बनाया है. The year we invaded India in 711.
हम बनते रहे बेवकूफ.
बनते रहे. बोले अरे ये देखो कैसे.
कितने दिन बनते रहेंगे हम बेवकूफ?
और बनते रहेंगे जब तक आप इंडिया में मुस्लिम्स जो समझते हैं प्रॉब्लम को एम्पावर नहीं करेंगे कि वो जंग लड़ें जिहादियों से. ये हिंदू की जंग नहीं है. दिस इज द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द इंडियन गवर्नमेंट. आप दिल्ली के अंदर बनाएं बलोचिस्तान हाउस, केस क्लोज. चाइना तंग करता है, आप रिकॉग्नाइज करें ताइवान को एज कंट्री, केस क्लोज. सस्ते में काम करें ना, खर्चा कम फायदा ज्यादा. मैं भी बन गया. आप ये करेंगे वो कर देंगे, मर जाए. अरे भैया मरने के किसने बोला तुमको? तुम आज ताइवान को रिकॉग्नाइज करो. इतना बर्नॉल बिकेगा चाइना में कि आप अंदाजा लगा सकते. मर जाएगा. इफ यू सेट अप सिंधु देश हाउस, क्योंकि आपके नेशनल एंथम में है पंजाब, सिंध, गुजरात, मराठा है ना. आप सिंध की बनाए आप सिंध हाउस दिल्ली में. किसने रोका आपको? करने नहीं देते कुछ. सारे जो बाबू हैं इंडिया की, उनकी वाइव्स लेटर इसी में लगी रहती है कि रिटायरमेंट कहाँ होना है, हाउस किस साइड पे होगा, कौन से किटी पार्टी कहाँ हो रही है. इट्स अ कैटास्ट्रोफी टेकिंग प्लेस. वो एक मैंने इंडियन गैदरिंग में सुना, सम आंटी वाज सेइंग कि इतना पढ़ने का क्या फायदा कि नौकरी करनी पड़े. थिंक अबाउट इट. You get educated to get a good husband. You don't get educated to do something. इतना पढ़ने का नौकरी का. So they're pappus. Their sons are fat, their daughters are thin. How does this work? You go to any airport anywhere in the world in a transit lounge, there'll be one pappu lying on the floor just screaming away. कभी लड़की को देखा आपने? नो. कभी काले को, नीले को, पीले को, गोरे को, किसी को, सब पढ़ रहे होते किताब, लाइन से बैठे होते. देसी का इंडियन का बच्चा पप्पू फैला हुआ होता है जमीन पे.
आज की कांग्रेस के बारे में क्या ख्याल है आपका? वो
भी पप्पू चला रहे. Imagine if Shashi Tharoor was the president of Indian National Congress. It would be a different party. Or Captain Arminder hai, he's a Congress writer. What is this nonsense of this Italian aunt becoming the kingmaker? How does it work?
That people will say this is democracy.
I cannot be an Indian, right? She was born in Italy and she is the Queen of India. Why can't the Congress have smart people who just say India? There were a number of very competent people.
Is it nepotism? Is it Gandhi thing or nepotism? What is it? Why they are still there?
They are controlling the assets of the Congress party. The Congress party over many, many decades, 100 years, have certain assets.
Okay.
That's I can imagine. I have no evidence. I'm concluding there's no other reason. Neither his sister is more qualified than him to be political. She is smarter than him, right? When she speaks, it makes sense. When she talks, it makes sense. But Pappu will lead. Sister ka pata hi nahi. You can't do this.
So do you think today's India, slowly, in these 6 years, they're changing, becoming really Indian? Or like the India 70 years we had before? Like we became more, we honestly...
You became Indian, let me tell you one thing. You became Indian on August 5th of this year.
August 5th of this year.
Yeah, before that you were just wannabe, क्या कहते थे लोग, विलायत जा रहे हम. We were not people. This Prime Minister, I'm left of center, I might not even vote for BJP, but this gentleman asserted on August 5th what Ayodhya is. That's the defining issue. You cannot have a conqueror come plunder India and then leave behind a mosque over a temple. This Erdogan is doing the same thing. Every Muslim thinks it's his birthright to destroy temples.
Why is that?
Because it is in Ghazwa-i-Hind. The theory of Ghazwa-i-Hind, the doctrine is, as contested as it may be, in essence it says, Muslims believe life begins after death. This is a transit lounge. Okay? So, everybody wants to die. Right? So how? And then live forever. So this latent desire to live forever, party, girls everywhere, and good wine, and endless supply. It's orgies everywhere. Every sexual frustration that you see in the poor neighborhoods of Mumbai or Delhi, the guy is waiting there like a wicket keeper, shoot, Jannat jaye, wahan maza aayega. Imagine kare, some of these young women cannot date. They'd be killed if they were dating. But they went to ISIS to have multiple husbands. From Tunisia to India. And the Indian jihadis were asked that you are not fit to fight, you clean our toilets. But they still served because they're serving Turks and Arabs. So, अपनी self-respect नहीं. जब तक आप इसको counter नहीं करेंगे with Indian Muslims who are enlightened, who are feminists, who respect gay rights, who understand world history, who know what is Japan, who know what is Belgium, who know who's King Leopold, who know why China is in the Security Council. You know, there are things that Indians have shut their minds because they all want to do MBAs and then go out and get married to what the mama says. They're grown up 35-year-old dabbus who say, Mama, mere shaadi kara do na. What the hell? You can't find a girl in America.
But there are Muslims in India. They really love India. They love India, and they feel that in their definitely identity as an Indian, not a Muslim. There, so
I'll accept it if their son's name is not Shams but Suraj.
Okay.
Very simple. Suraj and Shams, same thing. But they will never name their son Suraj. They will never name their daughter or son Chand. They'll call him Aftab. Why? Do you know anyone who's called Vijay, but he'll be called Zafar? The same thing. Vijay and Zafar mean the same thing. I can give you thousands of names. कोई अशोक नाम का थोड़ी नहीं है. अशोका हिंदू मुस्लिम के चक्कर में भी नहीं आता. वो तो बुद्धा था, बेचारा बुद्धिस्ट था. वो कोई नाम ही नहीं रखने को तैयार है. Do you think Erdogan is Muslim name? But Turks keep it. Is Khomeini Arabic? No. Sukarno, is he Arabic? No. The Indonesian president's grandson's name is Narendra.
Exactly. And they have, Indonesia, they have many, still. I know many
Their
people.
airline is Garuda. Garuda. Is that, it on the stamp? Ganesh is on the currency note.
Exactly.
They're the first Islamic country. उनका प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, तो ये पाकिस्तानी इंडियन मुसलमान कहाँ से आ गया?
एक्चुअली वही मैं बोलती हूँ कि पहले इंडियन बनो, फिर जो भी आपका धर्म है वो बनिए, वो रखिए.
ये इंडियन नहीं बनेंगे. आपको पता है, इन दी early 70s there was a language riot in Bangalore. I was in Saudi Arabia at that time. I couldn't understand कौन सा language. So Muslims were saying they needed an Urdu radio station in Bangalore. अरे भाई उधर का तो जबान नहीं. Why would you want Urdu radio station in Bangalore? You want Muslims to have a radio station, तो भैया तुम्हारे सर्विस आती तो उसकी बात करो ना. But then that language is common to both Hindus and Muslims and Christians and whoever. Sikh भी वहाँ बोलते होंगे. But they want a separate Urdu. And the only objective is to feel
proud about it.
Yes. Pura Bollywood, I mean the entire from the 50s, nothing is in Hindi.
In Bollywood.
है ना? Everything is in Urdu.
Yes, आप जब बॉलीवुड की बात करने लगे, कुछ दिन में जब हमारे प्रधानमंत्री आने वाले थे, तो बहुत सारे बॉलीवुड के जो स्टार्स है वो बोले कि वो अगर क्षमता में आएंगे तो we will leave the country. That was one. That recently one of the stars, he just met the Turkish first lady also.
He didn't want to meet the Israeli, but he wanted to meet the Turkish, not knowing that the Turkish idiot has had diplomatic relations with Israel for the last 60 years. अब ये मैं तो नहीं समझाऊंगा आमिर खान को कि भाई यू अब ऐसे मिल रहे हो उससे टर्किश औरत से, जैसे है माई बाप दुआने दे दो, आपका बड़ा भला होगा, मैं फकीर आया हूं इंडिया से. यही एटीट्यूड था ना. टर्किश बाप है, ओ बाप रे. और एब्सोल्यूट एनीबॉडी, लुक एट सैफ अली खान. I've heard he's going to have a second son. People are saying, what is he going to name him? Kublai Khan? Fu Manchu or someone? This is a criteria that the Indian Muslim leadership has failed completely. From Abul Kalam Azad right down. Abhi, there are people I know in अपने minister हैं, Shahnawaz Khan है, very look at General Atta Hasnain hai, a lot of Indian Muslims who are right thinking have no place. Because the uglier the person, the more authentic he is considered as a Muslim. If you're good looking, people say he can't be a Muslim. If you're ugly, with no mustache, long beard, छोटे भाई का कुर्ता और बड़े भाई का पजामा, नहीं, the other way around, then he's authentic. If he's
छोटे भाई
gargling,
का कुर्ता बड़े भाई का पजामा,
नहीं, छोटे भाई का पजामा बड़े भाई का कुर्ता,
छोटे भाई का पजामा बड़े भाई का कुर्ता. Okay.
Have you not seen the typical Muslim leader is always, his pajama is always chota. There is magic in it. You ask them, what the hell? What is this?
अब तो नया इंडिया बन गया, हम सभी इंडियन बनेंगे. There will be no Muslims for. Let's see. Let's inspire.
No, they have a right to being Muslim. That is what. This is a universally guaranteed right of religion. They do not have a right to separate laws.
Yeah, that's true.
Mohammedan personal law. What do you mean Mohammedan personal law? What personal law is that? There is no law. Law means something that can be changed. Something that cannot be changed is not a law, it's a decree.
True.
So every time Parliament makes a law, every legislator knows that the next election somebody can amend it. Or even if another party comes, they can introduce amendment to an article that like 370. Right? This understanding of modernity, what is a nation state, has escaped us.
The Modi government had done really tremendous, really good job, like triple talaq, which was really needed to demolish.
Yes, they did it, and now the trick is universal civil code.
Yes.
That has to be done.
That has to be done. Definitely, that has to be done. A country cannot have to.
Muslim women should come out for that. Is 2 wives? Like one mullah said, Tarek Fatah, एक गांव की होती है बीवी, एक शहर की होती है. अरे, I said, what do you do? Like, is it a मालगाड़ी के डिब्बा शहर में होता है, फिर वो वापस ट्रेन जाती है गांव? It's unbelievable.
It's really sad.
Polygamy is a curse. First cousin marriages. We Muslims have been physiologically destroyed by 1400 years of marrying a cousin. In England, 3% of the population is Muslim, but 18% of the physically and mentally handicapped people are Muslim.
Because of the first cousin marriage.
Yes. Nobody does it. Yeah, should be banned.
Yeah.
It's incest. मेरी खालाजाद बहन जो है ना, मैं कहता हूँ ना कि मामू और अब्बू एक ही हैं इसके. How can you do this to your children? जल्दी से cousin के साथ शादी करो. Muhammad's first marriage was a woman proposed to him. She was 15 years older than him. She was twice widowed. Do you know of a single Muslim in the last 1400 years who has followed Muhammad? Can you imagine it?
For him.
Can you imagine a Muslim woman in Delhi would say, hey, I want to marry you. Oh my God, they'd kill her next day. Her brothers would kill.
Yes, that's
Besharam, lose character. But what did your prophet do? He set the example, you say. Then let your daughters pick their husbands.
Swayamvar. हमारे इंडियन कल्चर जब स्वयंवर होता है ना, इंडियन कल्चर में हमारे कल्चर में तो हम खुद ही चुना करते थे.
अरे सब बेड़ा गर्क हो गया ना, अब वो घूंघट डाल दिया ना सबको.
हम उठा देंगे घूंघट.
है ना, मैं उठा रहा हूँ. मैं कहता हूँ आदमियों को पहनना चाहिए, उनकी शक्लें इतनी खराब हैं कि उनको घूंघट पहने चाहिए. लड़कियों की शक्लें अच्छी, उनका घूंघट पे क्यों डाला बाबा? आदमी मोटे मोटे टाइट पैंट पहने हुए, पेट निकले हुए, उनको बना दो सालों को वैसे ही छोटे भाई का पजामा पहना हुआ था। तो I would love to see Mullahs in Gungat, They should make a film about that. Mullahs in Gungat.
Mullahs in Gungat, okay. So Bollywood is watching.
I
So maybe next web series is gonna come. Mullahs in
You should do
Gungat.
that. That's it. Mullahs in
Credit goes to Mr. Tarek Fatah.
Oh, your audience will get upset. Ki, Kya? What is this going on? This is
Yes. Yes. So that is now we're going for the rapid fire round.
okay. Rapid
The
fire.
rapid fire round. Yes. So it is. Also, do you like Bollywood movies? Any of your favorite movies before we go to rapid fire round?
Bollywood, yes. I thought my favorite movie was Kalyu.
Kaliyug.
Yes, it had a deep impact. It stunned me. But Avara and An,
Raj Kapoor, Awara.
my father was very closely associated with Bollywood, but and a great singer. But his father uh, didn't allow him to dwell into that world. I remember I.S. Johar and uh, Atif something, Ajit.
Ajit.
Ajit used to sword fight and all that. These people coming to our home in Karachi visiting us. So Nargis,
Yeah. Such a
yeah,
beautiful lady.
yeah. So they were. My dad was very closely associated, and he was a great singer. So every morning he would sing, and oh, he was an amazing man. She is with us, and happily,
Yeah,
we
very,
uh,
God has been very kind and
oh,
we really. This is
absolutely. Life is,
this is the fighting spirit you have. This is, I think, inspiring so many people. That spirit is most important, I think.
I I think that is because I am a Marxist, and I know that uh, you the real challenge in our humanity is the elimination of poverty. It can never be civilized if we have people working for people, in a subservient manner. And so it's very difficult to fight that fight in societies where people say, ये तो इसकी किस्मत में है, आप क्या कर लेंगे? So I've I've seen wealth and I've seen abject poverty and hunger, and so चल रहा है काम.
सब
जब
कुछ
कोई
ठीक होगा. No, you are very, as I said, you are Marxist. So
yes,
you are Marxist who is totally support Ram Janambhoomi, because I don't think in India any Marxist, any leftist, they are supporting there.
no, I'm a question. The question of nationalities is very clear in my head. Okay,
Yes.
what is the nation? What is the nationality? And what are the identifiers? Everything aside, something that is an invasion by one force on the other. The starting point is utterly condemn, resist, and to a certain degree, avenge that for your own self-respect. If you don't have that self-respect, you are nothing. इसीलिए आप देखें, today's Marxists are involved with whales and turtles and ecology and Greta and humpback whale. Japanese are taking this oil from the whale. अरे भाई, तुम्हारे सामने people don't have place to live and bullshit कर रहे हो कि वेल्स के साथ बड़ा जाता है. अरे भैया, मस्कीटो के साथ भी होता है. जब आता है तो हम लोग मार देते. इसे ह्यूमन साइकिल, you know, fundamentally, if your objective is not comfort and dignity for the working class, there's no use being in politics. There's
Totally.
no, otherwise it is a Hitlerite nationalism. Okay, my nation is so supreme. One of the biggest tragedies of India is that it is one country which still sells books on Hitler, And the person who admires Hitler also admires Israel. Imagine that, study that. That would give you a sample of people simply not understanding what happened. What is it? The same guy is saying Israel is great and Hitler is also great. दुनिया में आपको ऐसे idiot नहीं मिलेंगे जो आपको दिल्ली में मिल जाएंगे. Every place where books are being sold, Hitler's book is being sold. 5-star hotel, Mein Kampf. अरे, how? Turkey में and India में, 2 countries. If you still think Hitler is great, you have no future. And how many people will say Hitler is? Check around with your friends.
Yeah, definitely. Nobody says Hitler is great though.
By the way, another thing, आप जापान में है ना, आप किसी इंडियन को पूछिए कि when did the Second World War start? Yes, they are in Japan. And Japan and China, 1936 में Second World War started. They don't know.
1936.
1936 May, there was an Italian outpost on the Chinese coast with the Japanese attack. Maybe I'm mistaken. But Chinese mainland पे European power का था, उस पे गड़बड़ हुई थी. And through Manchuria, the occupation of Manchuria and Japanese landing on the main, ruthless, 14 million Chinese died.
Yes, actually they still apologize for that.
Second only to the Soviet Union, just 30 million log mare. Yeah. But that is how China got a seat on the Security Council, because they fought in the Second World War. हम लोग सब तो घर बैठे हुए थे ना.
और क्या?
बिरयानी खाते बैठे थे. क्या कर? हालांकि हमारी आर्मी दूसरे के लिए लड़ रही थी. But anyway.
So yes,
talking to you, but your rapid fire stop.
Yeah, rapid fire stop. Before that, one more question I have. That
okay.
3 things you want to do in your life which you haven't done before. 3 things.
Yeah, well, I'd like to get Indian citizenship if I could. I'd like to die.
Okay, I'd like to pause here. So you want to get Indian citizenship. So everyone is hearing here, everyone is listening to him. This
yes.
is number 1. Okay,
yes.
So I wanted people to just know it.
Yes.
Highlight it.
If Sonia Gandhi can get it, I should get it too.
Point to be noted.
If Mr. Advani can get it he was also from Karachi, then I should get it too. Okay? And then I can sing better than Sami, that Pakistani singer. So that on all lines. Number 2, I would like to, this is very crazy. I would like to be involved in some liberation war of some kind. If I had a dream, I would like to have been with the Mukti Bahini, but I couldn't go there.
Time travel.
No, even now, if there's something. I'm 71. But in 71, I was desperate to go to Bengal. I didn't have money for the ticket.
Oh, let's go to Bengal together then, after Corona.
No, I've been there, but during the war, during the Mukti Bahini War of Liberation.
Okay, during that time.
Okay. So, थोड़ा सा बंदूक के साथ भी 2-4 तालिबान मैं भी मारूं.
And so highlighted, Taliban मैं भी मारूं. Highlighted.
And then I'd like to see a scenario where women of India, the future was not decided by their fathers or mothers, but by themselves. इनके जो के पिंजरों में बंद किया हुआ है, इनको उड़ने दें. And India will change.
And that would be real empowerment.
Yes, not this other. Family में भी empowerment हो. All these kitty party aunties who sit and yap all day long, I've seen if they have a maid with a female child, they sit separately. If the maid is Filipino and it's a male pappu, it's a completely dynamic. Go to an Indian restaurant at 11 where these kitty parties are held and study the behavior of children, of girls and boys and their ayahs. These are this is immense study. Even the maids are determined by whether they are Tamil or Bangladeshi or Manipuri. So Manipuri would be more acceptable than Bangladeshi. But if it is a Filipino, wow, she gets to sit on the table. So, and all of that is because the women are not seen as women, but as, if they're educated enough, they're seen as trophies. And then these women themselves think they are trophies of rich husbands.
I know
Big
that's
brain.
very sad. This is very
Yeah.
sad, and it has to be changed. And
Yeah.
since we are talking during this time, I don't know whether you are following or not. The thing is happening in Bollywood that the Sushant Singh Rajput's death and things. I think very much Kangana Ranaut is.
I've been following her. She's a very brave woman.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know the whole story, but I think she has really shaken up some people. हिला
Yes.
दिया है कंगना.
हिला दिया है.
हाँ, मैं इसको अडॉप्ट कर लूंगा, अपनी बेटी बना लूंगा. मैंने उसको लिखा.
और एक बार हाईलाइट कर दीजिए कंगना रनौत
कंगना को
my
अडॉप्ट
daughter is
करना
my बेटी.
है. What an amazing kid तो मैं कह सकता हूँ. हाँ, 70 में कह सकता हूँ, आपको भी kid कह सकता हूँ ना मैं. But she's amazing. Look at her poise. This is not an actress or someone. This is an accomplished feminist who knows what she's talking about. ये को मधुबाला नहीं है या some Rekha ji or some. No, this is the real deal. This is it.
Empowered woman.
Absolutely. She doesn't even have to act empowered. Her sheer presence is empowerment. आंख में आंख मिला आदमी डर के मर जाता है. ये I have great hope.
तो मतलब हमारे शो उनको हम भेज देंगे कि आपको अडॉप्ट करने के लिए और एक फादर रेडी है.
बोल दीजिएगा.
How did you meet your wife? Like such a beautiful.
Oh,
Whenever I see.
University. She is Gujarati speaking.
Okay.
She's Saudi Bora. I'm Punjabi Sunni. So she also sought me out in the true Islamic spirit. She said, "Idhar jaata hai." So I just come out of prison. I have photographs of that time, and there would be huge crowds with me. I saw the picture today. I was so young. So she approached me, Somebody told me, hey, this. She wrote on the classroom. We were doing English literature at that time. So she wrote a love letter to me on the blackboard.
Can you imagine at that time? And which year was it? Which year was it?
Just a second, 1971. 1971. Just after the war. Yes.
And at that time, she proposed to you.
Yes.
How advanced she was.
She said, I'll meet you kal tie pen ke aana. What tie nahi? I was running around. I don't know who it was. बोले भाई टाई है बोला किधर से टाई है. I was homeless then. किसी ने टाई दी, मैं टाई पहन के बैठा हुआ. हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी कैंपस में सामने there was a pool of lilies and all that. So I sat there, So she came over and sat next to me and says, "Hello, my name is Nargis Tafada." Oh, मेरा पसीना. मैंने कहा कौन है भाई? Had American cigarettes. She had a packet of American cigarette Winston's. So she said, I want a cigarette. Oh God.
So like how then you guys decided? Like she was like, okay, he's the guy for me. I think immediately she decided that. And How long did you take to accept it?
No, no, मैं उसी वक्त टाइम किसके पास गरीब आदमी. Then 74 we got married. There was a lot of resistance because he was Shia, Gujarati, I was Sunni Punjabi. It's big deal. But
Yeah.
got married in 74. Then in 78 we left Pakistan.
Yeah. How brave.
Ziaul Haq came. This was the third Marshal General who, and I said we have to go.
And throughout her support is with you.
Yes. आज उसने बनाया है आलू बटाटा और सब पराठे के साथ सो गई थी.
Okay, now let's start the rapid fire round.
Yeah.
Your favorite food?
Favorite food is bhindi, chopped bhindi and roti.
Chopped bhindi. मेरा भी favorite है वो. मुझे भी बहुत पसंद है.
कैसी जबरदस्त वेजिटेबल है ना हिमात से.
बहुत
amazing.
Bhindi
का.
Totally.
So that's my favorite food.
And your favorite place?
My favorite place. My favorite place is Lahore. It's beautiful. I will never be able to visit it, but I grew up in the walled city. It is an amazing place, devoid of its people.
When did you visit there last? When did you visit last?
Oh, I went last to Pakistan in 2006.
Favorite politician?
Living or dead?
Living.
Living. My favorite politician living today is the French president.
You have to describe them in one word. Trump. Okay, I think described already.
No, Trump, very funny, very funny.
Okay, and Kamala Harris. I think.
Fake.
Okay.
Fake. Who is expecting that I deserve it because I am. And
taking few countries' name. Definitely, in one word we have to describe. First comes India.
Fascinating.
Pakistan.
Murdabad.
Canada.
One word, civilized.
Japan.
Industrious.
Indonesia.
Magical.
Wow. Your wife.
Lifesaver.
So beautiful. Politics.
My oxygen.
Okay. And cinema, especially Bollywood.
Cinema. Dream world.
हम आपसे और एक बार सुनना चाहेंगे इंडिया के बारे में जो आपने बोला. India.
Fascinating.
Thank you so much. And the last, we would like to hear a few messages, at least one message for the youth of India. And the people are living outside of India also. The youth, they're being raised in outside in India.
I beg the Indian youth to not worship money.
Okay.
And fair and lovely wives. I would hope that Indian youth would look beyond their borders to see what civilization they have inherited rather than how much they have accumulated in wealth. Anyone who benefits from India and is an NRI should understand that he or she owes something to India in what you can do without getting paid. Because Indians live in about 20, 30 countries. And let me tell you why, in a single example, why India's greatness is there. We have 5 oceans: the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Arctic, the Antarctic, and the Indian Ocean. It's the only ocean that is associated with a country. Then you go from east, which is Indonesia, to Indochina, and in west to Indiana, Aztec Indians, the Canadian Indian Act, to the Mayas and the Incas. Everyone is associated with India. Even the automobile car race, the Indianapolis 500 or 900, is rooted in the word India. And uske बावजूद, when Nikki Haley leaves her name from Randhawa to Nikki Haley, you feel sad about it.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And India is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. With this philosophy, we will be, I think, always been believed in karma. We'll keep doing the big good karmas. And so
एक चीज मैं आपको बोलूं, गीता में एक लाइन है कि you do not have the right to have expectation. Your job is to do.
Yes.
So all this motivation to gather wealth and get obsessed with what you get in return is as non-Indian as the Ice Age. कुछ साधुओं से भी सीख लें.
काम करो, फल की आशा मत करो.
हाँ, यही है एक्चुअल लाइन. है तो हमने कोई काम किया ही नहीं जिसमें हमको चाहिए कुछ, खुद आ जाता है.
खुद आ जाएंगे. ऐसे ही आपको इंडियन सिटीजनशिप
ना भी आए तो किसी और को मिल जाएगा. क्या
हम इस उम्मीद के साथ इसका एंड करते हैं कि आपको जल्द ही जल्द इंडियन सिटीजनशिप मिल जाए. मोदी जी सुन लीजिए, मोदी जी सुन लीजिए ये इंटरव्यू, हम आपको टैग करने वाले हैं. और मिस्टर फतेह
आपके मुंह में घी शक्कर.
आज मैं 2 चम्मच खा लूंगी ज्यादा. और आपको इंडियन सिटीजन जल्द ही जल्द मिल जाए और फिर हम लोग इंडिया में बैठ के बिरयानी खाएंगे.
बिल्कुल बिरयानी खाएंगे. चले. थैंक यू सो मच.
थैंक यू सो मच. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful.
So that was the episode number 9, the Nupur Tewari show with Mr. Tarek Fatah. We'll be back again next week with another guest. Before that, please don't forget to subscribe our channel Yoga na Nupur. And now we are everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, and definitely on Facebook too. So until next time, take care of yourself. Subratri, Wes Minasai, good night. Namaste.